My upper body is feeling nice and loose, so let's move on to the midsection. I like to do stretches that hit a little bit of everything. You're gonna find what works for you, and I'll give you some additional options depending on what you need and what I've experienced that my students need. Let's get going with the Bretzel. Classic strong first stretch. This is one of my favorites. It's one of those daily stretches like the 90-90 hip stretch that just opens up a little bit of everything. So to get started on this, I find it easiest to raise one leg up at 90 degrees. I'm gonna hook under my right knee with my left hand. Now from here, I find it easiest to grab the foot in this position, bring it down flat to the ground, and now I'm gonna rock my right knee over to my left side, and if I'm feeling tight, I'm gonna exhale through. Keeping my shoulders on the floor. So the Bretzel really does stretch out the hip flexor, the hip external rotators, but it also really gets into the thoracic spine and a little rotation in our body. And I've realized, probably like you, that stretching from side to side, diagonally in a transverse plane, really seems to open things up in our fascial lines. So that's why I've included this in the midsection stretch. But right now, it might change day to day. I'm really feeling this in my hip external rotators, in my side glutes there. They're pretty tight. Also the quadriceps. So if I want to get deeper into this stretch, again, I'm going to couple my exhales with contractions. The contractions I'm thinking about are squeezing my glute and driving my shoulders down into the floor. Okay, I will equal it out on the other side. Okay, getting in, and I'm gonna drop. Taking inventory on which side is tighter. Yeah, my other side, my first side, was definitely tighter, but I feel this stretch big time in my left glute. I'm squeezing my right glute, so my right quad is turning off, and it's getting a better stretch. Now I'm really feeling it in the right oblique. It's funny how these chains in the body work. For me, my right glute, my right low back and obliques will get very tight from being my driving side when I'm walking or when I'm squatting. Just something I have to be very aware of, which is why the long stretch is so nice, because you're giving yourself permission to do this body maintenance. Okay, that felt nice. I'm gonna move into something like a Cobra pose. Now, this is also like a rehab exercise called the McKenzie press up to try and get more extension in the low back. This can be after an injury, or you might just be very stiff there. So the idea behind a McKenzie press up, I'm in my prone position here. I'll tell you, it's beneficial to really tuck the tailbone underneath and get to almost a peri push-up position, probably a little bit easier, wider, and a little bit further out depending on your flexibility of the lower back. What I would do for McKenzie press up is inhale, squeeze my butt, exhale and look up. Lots of extension through the spine. And that felt pretty easy but beneficial, so I'll bring the hands back. Feel my mid back really stretching out, my low back, and I feel my abs also stretching out. Most people are very tight in the abdominals and don't realize it. I'll do one more. I might kind of shimmy or pry from side to side. And one of my favorite things that we do at all of our Strong First certifications is from this Cobra position, what we'll do is we'll look back at our glutes, but
I'm gonna squeeze my right glute first, try and look at my left glute, feel my psoas muscles really stretching out, and just rocking back and forth, keeping a nice long neck. Just exhaling into it. This one does take a little bit of strength, guys, in the arms and the shoulders. So just do your best. For me, that's a really empowering stretch. For the longest time, from years of deadlift, my back just hurt so badly and I couldn't get into great extension. So slowly but surely, take care of those psoas muscles. It's one of the best ways to stretch them out that I've found because you can keep the glutes completely contracted. All right, now before we move on to the QL straddle, if the Bretzel's a bit too hard for you, you can just do it old school. We used to call this open the book in football, and just gently stretch the back, just with one leg over. Sometimes it helps to put a foam roller under the leg. This is really nice too because I'm actively pushing my right shoulder down just to get a little bit more rotation. So just an option. Now on a QL straddle, this one you kind of need a baseline level of flexibility just to have this large straddle position. It is beneficial to work on it though because things in life get a lot easier, such as Turkish get-ups, or if you're trying a double bell Turkish get-up. Over the weekend I was doing some tactical shooting and we were shooting from this position, going onto one knee, squatting and standing, and this was pretty easy for me. So typically before I do a QL straddle stretch, I will kind of go into a pancake stretch. Not able to do a full pancake, but over time just being able to kind of shimmy forward. And this is more of like a groin hamstring stretch, but I'll just show you guys right now. So I feel a pretty deep stretch. I might apply some pressure into my heels, pushing my palms down. I'm not gonna push this one too much because this is one I did injure myself on many years ago. And then from here, this nice straddle position, getting into the QL, the lower back muscle, the quadratus lumborum, it's beneficial if you can, grab one foot, one arm toward the ceiling, and I'm gonna start working it toward that wall. I'm really tight through here, so what I'm gonna focus on is my breathing and then gently pushing my hand toward the wall. Whew, it's a hard stretch, but man, that feels good. Right lower back always is tight. So I can also do a test. Which side is tighter? I already know my right, but let's see if my left goes a bit further. Now, if one side is tighter than the other, stretch the tight side a bit more. So my left side didn't feel as tight, but I felt like I made a lot of progress on my right as I opened it up. So remember, if you push too hard, you might cramp up, and we want to avoid that because that's going to stop the stretch super quickly. And that's about all I've got. So those are three of some of my favorite torso stretches, starting with the Bretzel and then moving into a Cobra, doing a lot of prying on both of those stretches, and then finally the quadratus lumborum straddle. Work at your comfort level. If you can't hold the straddle position, you might need to sit on a cushion or a pillow or a couple weight plates or a small step and then work it from there. It's all on an individual basis. But remember, when you're long stretching, you should make the time to do this stuff.